Get your pens out, guys.
It is Tuesday, September 25th. I'll call the Wright County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. The minutes from September 18th.
Mr. Chair, I will move the minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Vetch. Is there any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Review and approval of agenda. Does anybody have anything they would like to add?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Board. Just wanted to petition onto the consent agenda a referral of the technology committee tomorrow. The following items: a ERP update, Office 365 update, and project portfolio.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then, Mr. Chair, I also had some items to add today. The first, an authorized attendance at the Township Officers Meeting on October 4th. We could add that either consent or item for consideration.
Yeah, it's probably consent agenda on that.
Okay, so that meeting will be October 4th. I believe it's 7:30 p.m. The second item is to schedule a committee of the whole regarding the proposed new government center. Maybe we'll put that as an item for consideration. If that works.
So that'd be H on that also.
That was the government center?
Yes, yes.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
With that, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Vetch. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they would like to be removed for further discussions?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mike, is it all right if I pulled one item for?
If you want to.
And it's not about Derek, it's more about Trailblazer, but I'd like to talk about item C a little bit.
See?
Item C?
So if your motion is with that exception, I'll second it.
That'd be fine.
I'll second your motion to approve the consent agenda with that one removed.
All right.
All right.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Burrell. Any other discussions?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The license for real property granted to veterans, they have the wrong chair listed on there. Last year's Tom Charlie, it should be your name for this. That's wrong. Just a clarification.
Update that.
Okay. You guys got that taken care of? Mm-hmm. All right. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Charlie?
Derek, I guess if I might ask you a question, did they vote on this at the board, at the Trailblazer board? I mean, I'm just saying, when we were on the River Rider board, we didn't go to this stuff, you know, we kind of.
I mean, there's allocated funds within the budget for it, and that's where it was.
I know, but I mean, it's just. And the
board will be informed of this. I mean,
What's that?
it'll be ran by the board before it would actually be finalized. But I have to get approved here before it even go anywhere else.
Oh, okay.
You know, because I wouldn't want to.
I'm hoping you vote against it though, because it's a waste of money. You know.
I mean,
Well,
and that's an opinion that you can have.
Yeah.
I mean, we are in the transit business now, or possibly will be. We haven't made that full decision yet, if I remember correctly. Still waiting for the.
Well, we're in it half with the city, with the cities right now.
yeah.
So we're in it at this point.
Yeah.
We'll be 100% in it.
And I would think that we need to get it educated as much as possible.
Gosh, I don't, Derek could go down and teach at the conference. You know, I don't think we need to learn anything more.
Well,
Mr. Chair.
that could be very well. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Brow, with all due respect for this is a good educational tool for Commissioner Vetch to get to, also get to know who the players are and where the funding mechanisms are. To me, this is a heck of an opportunity. As you know, I'm part of Transportation Alliance. I'm on the board of directors. And for this being the transit conference, this is the big deal for transit. If you want to know who the players are, where the money's at, and how to get it, this is what you need to attend if you want to have any chance of getting what we're looking for. We got, Derek was good enough to get us for our budget and unmet needs. These are just enhancements to that to see fully understand how the funding happens and who the players are. To me, this is a very important conference for him to go to on
Oh, thank you, Mr. Potter.
You know, not only that, Charlie, but it'll give Commissioner Vetch an opportunity to visit the city that has the most bars within one block.
Yeah, and, I mean, it just looks bad, though, to me. Instead of just going to a conference center, they gotta go on the Riverboat Queen and, you know, whatever like that.
I don't make the agenda on it.
No,
per
I
se.
know that, Derek, and I'm not holding that against you, but I said, I hope you vote against going to the dang thing when it comes up.
And
That's what people get upset with government over, you know. We can't just have a conference at somewhere, it's gotta be on the Riverboat.
I agree, because they probably could have done it for
A whole lot
$8 less. Yes.
Exactly.
And Commissioner Burrell, this would have gone actually probably through the Trailblazer, but we haven't had a meeting now in over a month because we're trying to transition to not meeting monthly. Now that we've kind of got our funding items solidified, we're kind of trying to go to meeting more bi-monthly or possibly even maybe in the future quarterly. And it didn't get to the point where I was able to have a discussion. It's just my ask through Gary to be chairing next year to get some more better education, because my learning curve on that board is much steeper, as a lot of the other members have been on it much longer than I have.
Derek, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make the motion to authorize your attendance, but I hope you express your displeasure with going on the Riverboat Queen. You don't need to waste money like that. Okay.
Exactly, and I agree.
I'll make that motion to authorize attendance for Derek.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Potter. Is there any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Karen Punchak from the Great River Regional Library.
I love how you stress that great.
Great. Good morning, Chairman Gladden and Commissioners. It's great to see you. I have with me our Accounting and Distribution Supervisor, Erin Murphy. We're here to give you a little overview of what the Great River budget process looks like for 2019. As you may recall, we are part of a 6-county joint powers agreement, and our budget is set per the agreement before August 1st. So the board set that budget in July, and we're here to provide you that information. You have on that first slide just a quick overview of how many borrowers we have by county. We have over 110,000 active borrowers who use the Great River Regional Library System. That means they've borrowed books at least once in the last 3 years. There's lots of ways you can use the library other than borrowing books. That's the measure that we've consistently used over the years. Wright County has a good-sized population. It's one of our biggest library counties. About a third of the people in the library, or a third of the people at Great River, or a third of the people in Wright County use the library. Sorry, it's early this morning. I know it's 9:02, but it took a lot for us to get here today.
You didn't stop for coffee on the way, I take it.
Kids, so you know how it is.
Plus the weather.
So the libraries in Wright County, you know, we have 9 of them here, and the headquarters isn't located in Wright County, but one of the largest proportions of usage come from this county.
Actually, 8 because Elk River is in Sherburne. It's right on the border, but, yeah.
Oh. Nope, Elk River isn't on that list. It's
Okay.
Annandale, Buffalo, Clearwater. Clearwater is the one that's like right on the border, but it
Okay,
is on the Wright
that's what I
County
meant.
side.
Yeah, you're right, sorry about that.
I think the only other county that has more is Stearns, but that's counting the headquarters, which, you know, it's on the Stearns County side of the border.
Yeah. Yep.
So this is a picture of what the budget's sliced up as, and Aaron can give you a little picture of how 2019 played out. It's been an interesting math problem in that some of the other revenue sources actually increased, so the county proportions did not go up as much as they normally do.
Morning. So for 2019, Great River's overall budget is a 1.28% increase. Translated for Wright County is a 0.694 increase over last year's budget.
Well, that's about $14,884.
About.
About.
And 72 cents.
The accounting guy knows the math.
The pie chart just basically shows you how our revenue comes in. And as you can see, the 76.5 is the largest portion, which is the signatory shares from all 6 of our counties. And then, how do I move this? Oh, down? Oh, okay. This slide here is just showing an aggregate total of 2019 of all counties put together. It appears to be relatively flat, but when you drill down to Wright County alone, Wright County took a little dip in 2012, but then gradually increased a little bit. So for 2019, it's stayed relatively flat. I mean, as Karen had mentioned, the 14,000. But two things actually are large contributors to this is that the Great River Board approved to increase the ROBSS, which is Regional Library Basic System Support. It's a grant we get from the state from $1.5 million to $1.6 million based on what we received for 2018 fiscal year. Another large portion of this change is interest revenue. Back in 2012, we only had 17 CDs, and now we're up to 24 in 2019. And interest rates back then were about 1.5%. Now they're upwards of 2.5% or above. So every year we continue to increase the budget line for interest revenue, which reduces the overall county shares.
So regional library basic system support, as we've talked about earlier, fluctuates quite a bit from year to year. We anticipate, we did get our final number in, and that it was roughly what we budgeted, so we should be okay for 2019, but it did go down, so it's hard to say what that'll look like for 2020. Library dollars per capita is one calculation we can use to compare how each of the counties pay as players in the Great River Agreement, but it also demonstrates the cost effectiveness of library services at Great River. The total revenue on the right-hand column is from national data, so the most current data comes from fiscal year 2015, but on a per capita basis in the state of Minnesota, it costs $39.71 in operating revenue to deliver library service across the state. Great River, even if you factor in the amount that cities provide in building maintenance on a year-over-year basis, that gets you to that $20.17 number. So we're running at about half of what it costs to run a library because of the way we share resources and partner with our cities to deliver those services. Next year's budget, we're anticipating will be around $19.67 per capita, and Wright County's share of that is around $16.28. That's driven primarily by the 3 factors in our funding formula for the Joint Powers Agreement. It's borrower numbers, net tax capacity, and population. And Wright County's population is growing faster than everyone else's in the region, and the borrower numbers are pretty significantly higher as a proportion because you have a lot more libraries in the area. You have a lot of library usage happening down here. So if those numbers change between the 6 counties, that'll fluctuate again. Net tax capacity has been kind of the wild card in the formula over the last couple of years, and Wright County's has been growing year over year as well.
And Mr. Chair.
Mr. Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Karen, the other part of the factor that I've relayed this to the board before, but a couple years ago, Wright County overtook Stearns County in tax capacity, net tax capacity, and that's where we saw that a couple years ago. We saw that bigger increase because we surpassed them, so we've taken on more of a share of it, but that's per agreement, and that's not a bad thing for us to have a problem with.
It's been really interesting to see how the formula played out, especially if you rewind back to like '08, when the recession really hit Wright and Sherburne counties a lot differently than it did Todd and Morrison, because the tax capacity dropped. And so what we're starting to see is that formula shift is going back to the larger counties now. That's also impacting the state aid that we receive, because the formula factor there is also based on it's adjusted net tax capacity, but it fluctuates almost as wildly. Last year, I think some of the counties in the state saw more than a 20% change one way or the other in their adjusted net tax capacity calculations. So we're hopeful that a legislative change would help stabilize the state formula, making it easier for us to set the budget at the regional level and the county level around libraries. So I would anticipate there'll be a legislative ask around that. We're still formulating that for the upcoming legislative session. One of the pieces I also wanted to talk to you about was some of the efforts we have going on around fundraising. This is a revenue stream we're really actively pursuing. We contracted with Library Strategies this year to develop a 3 to 5 year plan to double our fundraising. One of our efforts this year was to rebrand our High Five campaign to Locally Grown. In the past, we had asked people for $5 and the proceeds were split at the local and regional level. Last year, we made it 100% local, and it allowed us to double the fundraising in just 1 year for just that campaign alone. Our annual appeal will be going out soon, so you'll see that in the mail. We just hired a new communications and development coordinator, and she's very excited about going after major gifts where we think we're going to see most of our growth. And so you'll see a lot more of that happening across the region. Some of the projects that are coming from that, we're hoping to launch Wi-Fi hotspots that circulate by the end of the year. You may have heard about the dementia-friendly kits or the brain fitness kits to work with seniors who have, who want to keep up their mental abilities, which is a growing issue in our communities. And so that fundraising stream will allow us to do special projects like that. We've also had some pretty good budget years, especially with the state aid surplus last year. And so the Great River Regional Library Board did take a look at what our reserves were this year and made some steps toward offering higher level services across the 6-county region with the surplus. So one of the most recent efforts around that was fines forgiveness, which ran through last week. In just 1 week's time, we waived $47,244 across the 6-county region in 1 week. We anticipate most of that was uncollectible. Some of the fines went all the way back to 1995 because we have never actually scrubbed our books. So one of the next steps we'll be looking at is cleaning up some of those old records and getting that data off of our files, but also opening the door to people to get back into the library, because it's clearly a barrier when you have that many people coming in 1 week's time to come back to the library with fines from that far back. So that is something we'll be looking at. We're also hoping to launch wireless printing in all of our locations by 2020. It's going to take us a little bit to get all the technology in place to do that. We're expanding our express checkouts, so we'll have 8 more stations going in across the region. We're over the halfway mark. Most of the libraries now actually have an express checkout station, which allows our staff to spend more time one-on-one with the people who need it. So we're really appreciative of the Great River Board thinking forward with those one-time surplus dollars so that we're able to offer those services. And we, oh, what was that? Horizon. Oh, they don't know what Horizon is. We have other upgrades coming within the system. So you'll see more and more improvements online and in the library itself. So we thank you for your support of Great River Regional Library, and if you have questions about the budget or anything that's coming out of 2019, please let us know.
Commissioner Houston?
Yeah, Karen, just curious, you know, our per capita expense is a couple of dollars more than Stearns County, and yet they pay a couple $100,000 more than we do. So curious about what factor, is there tax capacity higher? Is that what would be the driving force of less per capita, but more overall?
It's all three formula
Okay.
factors in
Okay.
each county. So we've got 3 big counties and 3 smaller counties. Benton, Todd, and Morrison, dollars-wise, provide about the same amount each year. And then Stearns, Sherburne, and Wright are the 3 bigger players. And really, it's Wright and Stearns. When you look at
Yep.
the one graph, you can kind of see, you know, Wright and Stearns are kind of in a tier unto themselves.
By themselves.
And it's because you have a lot of users, your population is growing, and your tax capacity is growing, that it's increasing that formula share at a different rate than Stearns County right now. How that will look over time, you know, population is also growing in Stearns County, tax capacity is also growing in Stearns County, and because the St. Cloud Library is housed in Stearns County, the borrower number fluctuation is a little more volatile there, because 25% of our borrowers as a region just use St. Cloud. And so if we increase the number of people using the St. Cloud building next year, it could fluctuate the formula a different way. It's really hard to tell year over year how that's going to look. Tax capacity is the most difficult one to predict because you can't really put that in a graph and say it's going to really be that next year because of the way the legislature plays with those numbers. But population and borrower numbers, I think, are also factors here.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Potter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Karen, the idea is we're delivering the service for about 1/3 less than the other systems around, which is for my way of saying thank you and your staff for maintaining the levels, because, you know, our 3 smaller counties always get so sensitive if there's a dollar change. But, you know, the advantage of it is we're having a better, well-read community here, which helps our kids growing forward, you know. And the initiative that we just recently undertook is for the interpreter. For that, I'd like you to explain that to everybody, because otherwise, when that gets out, just let them know what the idea, why we did this.
Oh, sure.
Because I think that's important for us to understand that the library is inclusive of everybody, and we don't want it to be a barrier for anybody.
Right. It is truly our mission. And so I'll speak to 2 points. One is the cost effectiveness, because if you look at the statewide revenue, what you're not seeing is Hennepin County in that number in the way it really is an outlier. In Wright County in particular, our services are often compared with Hennepin County because it's right across the border. I just spoke with the director, and they're anticipating their budget next year will be $85.6 million. We have a $9 million budget. They have 43 libraries. We have 32. So they're just on a much higher scale. And so their tax capacity per population, it's just a much different number down there. So it is a lot more cost effective, especially for your residents, where many of them are commuting down to the metro area and coming home and expecting that same level of library service. In terms of the grant, we just received word that we have applied for an LSTA grant through the State Library Services. So this is the federal funding that comes for libraries to the state of Minnesota, and it's awarded on a competitive basis. There was $585,000 available. We will be receiving just over $89,000 for the project. We partnered with Partner for Student Success, which is a District 742, Sartell St. Stephen, Sauk Rapids Rice collaboration, Career Solutions, which is the Employment Council up in Stearns and Benton County, and then Central Minnesota ABE to work on this project. Part of the project will be hiring a library navigator who's fluent in Somali, because one of the big issues looming in our region is the 900 workers who are getting laid off in Electrolux, and making sure they're ready for reemployment in about 1.5 years. And that particular impact is not just St. Cloud. While it is primarily St. Cloud, we see residents in each of our 6 counties who are working there right now. And Career Solutions worked with DEED to survey those workers, and some of the barriers for them to be reemployed will be the fact that they don't have a diploma, the fact that they don't speak English well, and the fact that they do not have good digital literacy skills. Some of them couldn't even complete the survey online. So we're working with those partners to do programs like conversation circles, and that is a program where people can practice their English. One of the possible sites we're looking at bringing it to is Monticello, because it sounds like their diversity council has been talking about bringing that programming there. So it'll be training our staff to deliver those programs, having that Somali interpreter available as a staff member and as a resource for the entire region, although most of their work will be in the St. Cloud area. And then also working with Central Minnesota Adult Basic Ed, which is a pretty big footprint. They've got sites all the way up to Long Prairie, to work on digital literacy skills with the students in those ABE classes so that they're able to send an email, actually log into a computer and use a browser when they're done, so that they're ready for that next step once they do reach layoff. So it's going to be a pretty exciting project. It's going to take us to probably the top of our capacity as a region. We're really excited about being able to deliver it. We don't have the grant agreement signed yet, but once we do, we'll be doing some publicity around the project.
Charlie?
Yeah, Karen or Aaron, I guess, either one. I know when we first got on the board, we were told, it doesn't matter, the library comes, it's mandated by the state, we just pay it. But what I found out later is there is a mandated amount that we have to pay, but we're paying a little more than that. Do you know what the minimum that we would be required under law to pay? Not that I'm planning on cutting or anything,
Sure.
Because I think you're doing a good job.
Do you know the
But I
dollar
think
amount?
that would be nice to have. I mean, when we do next year, maybe, to put that out, just to see how close we are. I don't think we're a whole lot more than what is
Not
required.
sure where you're at. Each county is different. What I can tell you is maintenance of effort used to be something that changed year over year.
Yeah.
And back in 2012, it was frozen at 90% of what you paid in 2011. So you can kind of look back to that 2012 chart, and if you can do the math, it's probably, I don't know.
It's 90% of the 2011 certified amount, actually.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Oops.
So we would
and
be.
actually go by
Oh,
by
so
what
it's-
you pay. It's a calculation, but I can actually get you that number, Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, it just to know, I mean, because we're paying, a little over 2 million, and I think maybe people that don't use the library, even though they had a card for the last 15 years, should turn it in and save Wright County some money.
Actually, those people are not counted.
Or not?
It's only current borrowers that are counted.
So like within the last year, or?
3 years. If
Oh,
they've
3
used
years.
the card once to check out materials in the last 3 years, that's
Okay.
what's calculated.
Okay,
So,
so,
yeah.
no, it sounds good. You guys are doing a good job, so thank you.
Thanks.
I'll get you that information.
I appreciate it.
Mr. Chair.
Very efficient, yes.
Mr. Chair, I happened to pull up the letter from the Department of Education. Our state certified levy level of support for 19 was a little over 1.4 million would be the requirement,
That's
so.
what I thought it was before.
So 1.4 would be required?
Correct, is the state certified level, or required level.
So if things
Forward
got
that to
tough
the
at the
board.
county, they might get tough at the library board
Right.
too.
I think it's important to remember in that same conversation that Great River provides the services, which is the staff, the books, and the computers. So if there's a cut, it's going to be one of those things. That's just the way it is.
I think you guys
Yeah.
do a good job, I mean, because we have to keep looking and where the trends are changing, because, and you've mentioned this at meetings before, the old come in, check out the book thing is getting less, and some of the technology things are going more, and I do appreciate you looking into the kiosk things. I don't know if it's gonna save us any money, it'll probably end up something that costs money, but,
Right,
whatever.
yeah.
It's worth looking into, though. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
You,
Oh, can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
Because I was reading about a little bit about this. What's the difference between a federated system and a consolidated system? We're consolidated,
We
right?
are consolidated. We are the most consolidated library system in the state
Okay,
of Minnesota.
and what's the difference between that and a federated?
MELSA is the most federated system. So if you look at how the metro area runs compared to
Okay.
Great River, the big differences are the state money goes to MELSA, and it's funneled out to the 6 county libraries and St. Paul Library. So St. Paul is its own system. Each of those systems have its own borrowing rules. They own their own books, and they have their own policies on how the money changes hands. So like Hennepin County IT provides services to Hennepin County Library.
They said that the federated systems, the local taxpayers pay way more, so
Right.
I'm glad we're consolidating.
Right, we share a lot more. You give up some of the local control, but we share a lot more. Like Great River owns all of our books. It's not Buffalo, it's not
Howard Lake or...
Wanville, it's the whole collection. And so as a result, we have the third largest library collection at about half the cost of what everybody else is running a library at.
We're also able to provide equity of service amongst every single borrower in every county. Every borrower gets the same 2-day turnaround, 2 to 3 day turnaround, because we have a floating collection, so the books just keep moving in and out.
Mr.
Makes
Chair.
sense.
Mr. Potter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And for the rest of the board and for Karen, the consolidated way works better because then each library doesn't have 6 copies of War and Peace sitting on the shelf. You're much better utilization of the dollars that you have to make sure you have more content available to the patrons. And that's to me is the big advantage, because if you go to Hennepin County, each one will have X amount of copies of something that's been sitting there forever. There's an inch of dust on them. They never get checked out. And so that's one of the other advantages of doing it this way.
And it's not just books that the library has either, which is something we can
Right.
focus on, but the books on tapes, which I love. Every time my wife and I take a trip, we get a number of them for the trip. It makes the trip go so much interesting. And not VCRs anymore,
DVDs.
but DVDs and I don't know, whatever the next.
He still has the beta.
We still have VHS in the collection, so.
And they say that you can't, it's very difficult to find a VHS player nowadays.
It is.
They
There
quit
are
making them in
a few-
2016.
And there's a few copies of things that's the only format we have it in, so we haven't eliminated it, and it may be one of the only ones in the state, so we hang on to it because. of the
Better get
state.
it switched over to DVD.
If we have the copyright clearance to do it.
True.
Yeah, it's complicated.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aaron.
It is actually 9:32. We have a public hearing at 9:30, so we'll have to move on to that. Virgil, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. And you can blame Greg. We have no problems with that if you want.
Chair, members of the board, I'll try to make this rather quick. The first matter is County Ditch 22. So you'll be acting in your capacity as the drainage authority for County Ditch 22. This matter was continued from our last public hearing because a comment was brought forward as to a parcel of land that should be added to the system. I talked with Joe Jacobs, who is here, who is one of the viewers on the system. He indicated that a portion of that land that was identified is going to be, or is suggested to be added to the system. So with that, I've talked with John Kolb about this. And the position of staff and of the county attorney's office is that this matter should be continued for at least 2 weeks, probably to October 9th at 9:30 on CD22, so that we can renotice that property owner to notify them of this addition and to also effectuate 2 weeks of publication.
And you want to continue it to October 22?
A lot of 22s, October 9th, I believe.
October
would be 2 weeks from now, on CD22.
And it would the correct motion be to continue it or tape?
We're going to continue the public hearing.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing on County Ditch 22 to October 9th at 9:30.
I'll second that.
And Mr. Chair, I don't believe anyone's here to comment on CD22. No, just for the record.
Okay.
Works.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Houston-Vetch. Because they were both so quick, someone else will have to choose.
Which ear hears better?
Yeah, I don't know. Is there any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
All right, Mr. Chair, and then the second matter is County Ditch 34, so acting in your capacity as a drainage authority for County Ditch 34. This matter was continued from our last public hearing for the specific purpose of having the viewers reevaluate the benefits to one parcel of land, specifically the Durand parcel. Joe, maybe you want to come on up and kind of give your comments as to what they had, but they did make an adjustment to that, and then we can open it for public comment.
Yeah, it's Joe Jacobs. I'm the Wright County viewer for Ditch 34. We did look at that specific parcel again, and we did notice that it was the closeness of it to the county culvert going underneath the county road, or the road would have given surface drainage for that specific parcel. So we did consider the closeness of that, where it was in the watershed. All the tile lines that was servicing that property is definitely utilizing the county ditch system. However, the surface water would be able to reach, wouldn't be needed in that parcel. So we did give them as far as the upland areas, the C and D soils, we adjusted that value for what was required. So there was a slight reduction in his percentage for that entire ditch system, but as far as the entire ditch system would be impacted, be negligible. But for him, there was a slight adjustment down. So I don't know exactly what the percentage was, but it was a couple points. So.
Okay. So, Greg, are we able to approve the viewers report then with the change, or do we have to wait until?
No, on CD 34,
yeah.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Burrell, I think with that, I'd recommend that you open it for public hearing. I don't think we need to recontinue or renotice this. We should open it for public comment. We don't need to continue this matter in light of that reduction.
So the motion then would be to accept the viewers report?
After we have public comment.
Oh, okay. Well,
We'll open them for public comment. Anybody here regarding County Road or County Ditch 34? Does anybody have any comments on County Ditch 34? Does anybody have any comments on County Ditch 34? Hearing none, I'll bring it back up here.
I put the cart before the horse, but I was anticipating that. Okay, so the motion then would be to accept the viewers report as amended?
I think, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Burrell, I think it'd be wise if we directed staff to draft a resolution accepting the viewers report and bring it back to the board.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to direct staff to
Write the viewers report.
Yeah, fine.
to what, Mike?
Write the viewers report.
Well, it's
Draft a resolution.
draft a resolution for the viewers report. That was close though, Mike.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks. But we had him, and I thought I'd give you the.
Yeah, thank you.
We can make Charlie sweat it that maybe he wasn't going to get a second.
We have a motion by,
ditches.
it's all Charlie's fault anyway.
Yes, it's all his
Campaign
ditch.
problems, but fix all these ditches. Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Houston. Is there any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Okay. Mr. Chair, do we need to have a motion to close public hearing on this?
You already brought it up. It's already been.
That would have been a lot of work for nothing if you wouldn't have got a second there, Charlie.
But sometimes we've been making the motion to close public
Yeah, sometimes we do a little more. I think that the chair's call is fine.
Okay,
There's
that's
no
fine.
other. So at this point in time, we can have our award-winning engineer come back up.
Okay.
Oh, he's going to sing his PowerPoint for us, I bet.
Well, I don't know, according to his thing here, he only wants 2 minutes.
That's all I'll need.
All right, let's time him.
5.
All right.
Morning,
Put him on the
Chairman Watt and
stopwatch.
Board of Commissioners. There's 2 items today for your consideration. The first one's an annual housekeeping item, this distribution of our 2017 Highway Department Annual Report, and you should have a copy of that in your packets. Today, I'm just presenting it to you, and in 2 weeks, I'll come back for acceptance of it, so please look through it and let me know if there's any questions you have or any revisions needed on that. That's the first item.
And Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Virgil, there are a couple typos in here, so I've solicited our grammar police over here to find all the typos. There's a couple of them in there, but and bring them to the forefront here. That's her challenge for 2 weeks.
Good, we need to know those things so we
Yes.
can get it corrected.
Or you could save us time and you do it.
Okay. So need a schedule.
So we don't have to approve it or anything?
No,
Just
Nope,
schedule.
we're just
So the
accepting
second
it.
item, I would like to schedule Transportation Committee of the Whole to discuss a transportation issue that has come up on our Highway 19 and 38 project that has federal dollars, has over $4 million in federal money. The federal money's great, but there's always regulations that come with it, and this is one of those that we need to deal with. It's a summary of the noise requirements, because there's an expansion of lanes, there's trails on both sides of the road. It's required that there be a vote on whether we put noise walls up, and I can't adequately probably explain it here, but I'd like to schedule a Transportation Committee meeting so that we can talk about it and go through it. There's a couple dates suggested here that we'd like to hold the meeting at Albertville City Hall, because immediately following the Transportation Committee meeting, there'll need to be a public hearing for this same meeting.
Was that the groundbreaking event, or?
No, that's
No,
Okay, sorry.
different, yeah. I'm okay with either one, so whatever you guys,
What were the two dates?
Monday, October 29th at 4 PM, or Tuesday, October 30th at 4 PM.
I have Law Library on the 30th at 4.
so you want to go with the 29th? Charlie?
Yeah, that works.
No, we'll have to be at public hearing then also for that purpose, or not?
Yeah, so we'd like you'd also be there for that. You don't have to be, but
I wasn't sure who, it's not really a public hearing. it's just-
we'll schedule the public meeting for 5 o'clock.
Okay, so it's not a public hearing, it's a public meeting.
It's a public meeting.
Okay, alrighty. And then I do have one other question, quick. Why do we have to deal with this at that intersection where on 38 we never had to do this?
So this isn't with the intersection, it's actually for the trail along Highway 38. The cities of Otsego and Albertville both want off-road trails on the north and south side along 38 from 19 to MacIver. And the noise receptors indicated that the noise levels are exceeded for the trail that's going to be built, that's not there now. So the noise wall would reduce the noise for people using the trail. Not necessarily, the noise wasn't exceeded for any of the homes, the residential homes. So it's kind of a interesting thing here with federal laws and requirements. But the way it works is the county is the landowner because the trail's on our right-of-way. The county would vote to either put the noise wall up or not. The residential homes are secondary beneficiaries if a noise wall's put up because they would benefit a little bit, but their votes don't count as much. So it's kind of an interesting federal regulation that we should talk about.
And you're going to give us that skinny on the 29th then?
Yes.
Yep, okay.
And then, whose nickel is this on?
That's the other interesting thing, because the way our funding policy works is the trails are paid for and owned and maintained by the cities. But according to federal regulations, if a noise wall is put up for the benefit of the trail, the county cannot pass those costs on to the cities. So it would be ours.
Okay, all right, so can I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to set a committee of the whole to discuss transportation issues for Monday, October 29th at 4 o'clock.
I'll second that.
And that is at the highway building or here?
Nope.
I'd like to hold it at Albertville City Hall.
Albertville City Hall.
Because
Okay,
we'll have
just-
a public meeting immediately following
Okay.
at 5 o'clock.
Virgil, that took 4 minutes.
Off my game today, sorry.
All righty. Is there any other discussions? So we have a motion by, excuse me, Commissioner Potter. Who seconded that one?
I did.
Commissioner Vetch. Any other discussions? Hearing none?
I was just going to say, Mr. Chair, if you're going to attend the meeting after at 5 o'clock, it might be good to add authorized attendance on if all of you are planning to attend.
Oh, the 5 o'clock
The 5
portion of
o'clock
it?
portion,
Authorized
it's maybe
attendance.
small things,
Yeah.
but just.
Do we
if
do
we're gonna
that
be
as a separate
consistent-
motion?
Yeah, let's do that one. We already have it, unless we want to do an amendment.
All amendment, just to include that.
Yeah, I'll accept that amendment.
Yeah, just to make it simple.
All right. You have that all set? All right. Any other discussions? Questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Virgil.
Charlie, you get to drive from one end of the county to the other.
That's pretty
That'd be
awesome.
that'd be like when you came down to Stockholm to a ditch meeting.
Yep.
Well, we're going down to Capita for,
Mayors?
Yeah, to the mayor's meeting. No, Stockholm's even farther.
no, oh, yeah, yeah.
All right.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I'm listed as 5 minutes. I'll try to be shorter unless you have a lot of questions. What you have in your packet is a joint powers agreement for our law enforcement records management system, Zerker. We've had that system, Wright County has had that system for some time. The 3 cities that have their own police departments, Annandale, Buffalo, and Howard Lake, have contracted with Zerker to update their records management system. And basically, this is going to be a merger of those systems with Wright County being the host, so to speak. It's my understanding that this joint powers agreement has already been approved by all 3 cities. I'm just waiting on the signature page from the city of Buffalo. But Scott Weiland from IT has been kind of the project manager on this, and I don't think they're quite there yet in terms of the technology piece of this, but we were hoping to have this in place by the 1st of October. So any questions?
Will this save the cities a little bit of money from what they were spending then?
That, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Burrell, that I don't know. I don't know the particulars of their contracts. What I do know is that we're not charging the cities anything. It's, you know, we've tried to be careful in that if there are data requests, things like that, records requests, that each entity responds on their own. We're not going to be doing their busy work. If there are technical issues, each of the cities needs to have someone with IT expertise dealing with their problem if it's in a squad car or something like that. If there are network issues or you know, issues with the storage that we have, then we may have to take part. But as the discussion started, we weren't sure where that financial piece was going, but it was finally decided that we would not charge the cities for this service.
Commissioner
Mr.
Hissom?
Chair, yeah, I'm very happy to see that this is falling into place, because we were hoping several years ago to bring the cities on, but they had their own systems, and so they weren't quite ready to do this. But Zerker's going to be, it's going to really increase our efficiencies for the cities. So I'm glad to see this.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the joint powers agreement for the law enforcement and records with Buffalo, Annandale, and Howard Lake.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Hissom. Is there any other discussions? Is he going to make it within his 5 minutes?
He's
We drag it off a little bit?
We should take, yeah. He didn't use up enough time, so I'll have to tell us the story.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right. Justin and
No.
Mr. Evola.
Tammy's here for Bob.
Right, I'm not Bob Hevel. Bob is unable to be here today, so I'm stepping in for him. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. This morning we've got just a few items. The first is to approve the transfer of tobacco license for Northern Tier Retail, doing business as Super America, and it is the formerly Croy Convenience in the city of Albertville.
can I have a motion?
I will make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewson. Is there any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
All right, the second item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the County Ditch 22 public hearing. That was on September 11th, 2018. Minutes should be included in your packet.
I can't find them in mine.
No. Well, there's just, I mean, there's all the, is that what you're considering the minutes? That's that, you know.
I think that was for the,
That was the findings or the
Yep, what you had there, that spreadsheet was in regards to the public
public
hearing.
public hearing, that's what I was saying, but the minute pieces, I don't see them.
Get
yeah,
these
it's not in the
pieces.
packet.
No.
I'm wondering if we shouldn't just wait on that. Maybe bring them back. Yeah, no, they're not in here though.
Okay, okay, I can have them, I can have that put on the agenda for October 9th
Okay.
for approval and make sure that they get into your packets.
Is that gonna be
Apologize.
okay, Jen? That's gonna be okay, just approve them later? Okay.
So Matt's slipped up here and didn't get us. I mean, he is the ditch coordinator, so, right? So he should have made sure they were in the packet, so.
I'm not sure where that slip up is, I apologize.
What's right, we're gonna blame Matt.
No, don't, please.
Okay, we'll blame Bob. He's not here. Okay, that's perfect.
It's his department, so everything does fall under his, you know.
Mr. Chair, they are in the digital packet if folks want to review them, so
Okay.
Okay,
the public wants to look at them, they're out there.
yep.
But I'm not sure why they're not in the written, so.
Okay,
Would you need a
To October
motion?
9th.
Do we need a motion to table that or?
I don't think so.
Okay, so just a no action.
Okay.
Thank
Tammy.
you.
Thank you, Tammy.
Yep.
Oh, no.
All right, Justin.
And Kelly.
Morning.
He brought
I don't
signs.
see Kelly.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having us, well, me. This morning,
Where's the rest of you?
unfortunately, our Wright County 4-H ambassador, who also serves as state ambassador, came down with strep yesterday or this morning and could not make it. So Eileen sends her regrets and apologies, but she is healing up. Eileen is one of the 2 state ambassadors from our county this year. So last year, Greta was here giving the declaration as the president of our federation. This year, she was elected to serve as state ambassador. So she's also serving. Eileen is a part of the Willing Workers Club and has been involved for, I think, 11 years now. So she's been highly engaged. But I am one of the 4-H program coordinators. I am the full-time individual. Kelly is not with us here today as the part-time individual. She works several days a week. And as you both know, Wright County 4-H, or as you all know, Wright County 4-H serves youth in our county. We currently have nearly 700 members, 20 clubs, nearly 200 volunteers. In addition to that, Kelly helps do some after-school programs that serves over another 600 youth in addition to that. So we touch quite a few families across the county. The Youth Development Program serves kindergartner through the year after high school, a variety of age-appropriate hands-on learning activities that help fulfill a wonderful array of items for special interest groups, after-school programs, civic engagement, community service, and much more. I am here because the first week of October is the annual celebration for National 4-H Week, which is the week to celebrate many great things that 4-H members do throughout the nation. This week is also time to showcase our organization, do some recruitment, and get out in the community. So clubs will be doing activities throughout the community. For example, if any of you are familiar with the Paper Clover campaign that Tractor Supply Company does, that'll be going on through 4-H Week and then some. But beyond that, clubs will be doing a variety of activities, whether it's community service, recruiting events, fun social events, whatever that may be. So I have a declaration that I believe you all have a copy of, correct? Wonderful, and I will read that. Whereas 4-H youth across the nation are leading efforts to solve problems in communities and make a difference for their future, and whereas 4-H is Minnesota's largest youth development organization, growing leaders in every part of the state, reaching 69,000 youth last year alone, and whereas 4-H in Wright County numbers more than 600 members and more than 155 volunteers, and whereas Minnesota 4-H is committed to empowering youth with skills they need to lead for a lifetime, and whereas youth in 4-H collaborate with caring adults to lead hands-on projects in areas like science, health, agriculture, citizenship, and the arts. And whereas the 4-H experience helps youth to make positive choices, communicate effectively, build connections with peers and adults, and be meaningful contributors to their local and global communities. Now, therefore, in this case, Chairman of the Wright County Board of Commissioners, should I let you read that part?
No,
Okay.
it's not me, it's the board.
Okay. Hereby proclaim October 7th through 13th, 2018 as National 4-H Week in Wright County. I urge the people of this community to take advantage of the opportunity to become more aware of this special program that enhances our young people's interests and their futures as part of Wright County 4-H youth development, and to join us in recognizing the unique partnership between our county and the University of Minnesota.
Mr. Chair, I'll move forth that resolution.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Potter. Is there any other discussions? Yeah, 4-H is a great thing. I really wasn't able to do it when I was a kid. I don't know, maybe the press could take a picture or just of that 4-H sign and have that as part of her
I think that'd be nice.
little statement with this information. Try and get more people out there. So.
Perfect. These are actually all for you.
Oh, are they?
Beautiful
okay.
takes.
So you can grab a picture later.
Okay.
And we can actually put all 5 of them around and take pictures of all of them. So thank you for that.
Did you want to, you didn't want to take a picture with the sign?
We can do it at the end.
Huh? Yeah, we'll do it at the end. I think just a picture of the sign. We don't.
No, I meant Justin.
Oh, Justin was the sign?
Holy sign. I don't know, I thought that's what you meant.
Well, I was just taking a picture of the sign.
Okay.
They don't want to see my ugly.
We could all be holding them.
Yeah.
5 of us.
In front of our faces.
Yeah.
All right. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Resolution, though.
Oh, Charlie?
Aye.
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 Resolution carries unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I bring greetings from all of the members. They appreciate your support.
Justin, as long as you're here, though, I know Commissioner Potter and I have been in talks with the 4-H, the Extension, and the Fair Board regarding a new food building. Could you kind of tell us the importance of that? Like, or maybe we could have Commissioner Potter help out, too.
Putting me on the spot here, Commissioner Burrell. The importance of that, so that's one of our primary fundraisers outside of, from the essence of extension services that I provide, but our Wright County 4-H is a separate entity as far as finances are concerned. So as far as what the Wright County 4-H has funding-wise, about a third to a quarter of our budget, depending on the year, comes from that fundraiser alone. And all of our members are expected to serve in that building during that time. So that is an awesome opportunity not only for us to raise money, but then also be present with a large number of community members and youth across the county. So it kind of serves as a touch point for people to be aware of beyond just that building there. So it's a really unique opportunity that allows us to be present in the community and also then be raising funds for us to be able to execute work within 4-H. Right now, the building's such that we're spending a lot of funds in negotiation with the Fair Board, trying to split a little bit of that best we can, but each year having to fix something, replace something, repair something, and it's really getting to the point where code's becoming an issue for a lot of things as well.
And Commissioner Potter can say about how old that building is.
Chair.
Yes.
Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just to fill in that, that building was old when I served food out of it in the early 70s. And as far as code compliance, it's just a nightmare to try to keep up with it. We've been blessed that the health inspector is allowing us to still use that kitchen, because I believe that we're on borrowed time by at least a decade on that one.
But they might have used it to house the World War II prisoners, yeah.
In 1944 and 1945, the summers, I believe that's where they housed the German prisoners of war who were brought up from the base camp.
So it's an old building.
Yep.
So it's been around for a while.
They housed them there, and they worked in the Cokato canning factory and some of the area farms. So.
I didn't even know that.
Mr. Chair, just to give the board a fair notice that we are working towards getting a new building. It wasn't presented as part of the budget next year because we're looking for funding outside the county to get this going, outside the county dollars, but we're still having a couple snags with the Fair Board on how to do this. We'll make sure we put in a good building that fits and makes sense and try to be as cost effective as we can with this.
I just wanted to put it on the radar screen that for the rest of the public and everybody to know we are working on that, and I think it'll be a great thing for the whole program, so.
Well, if I can make a suggestion, if you need to raise additional funds, next year, what I would suggest is have a pie throwing contest with the commissioners that are on the extension. So I'd be willing to bet that there's people that would spend good money to throw a pie at one or two commissioners that are on the extension.
To make at least $5.
Oh, no, I'll guarantee it'll be more than that.
I'll put that on the calendar.
I mean,
They're out there digging in their pockets already.
my granddaughter is in 4-H and serves at the 4-H booth during the fair, and it's busy in there and it's pretty crowded, so it'd be nice to see upgrades.
Sorry to put you on the spot, Justin, you did a great job.
Thanks. Would you like me to leave these?
If there is fine.
Yeah, that or you can just leave them up front here for now.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You too. Oh, one quick question. Will Eileen be able to come back at another time to do her presentation at all?
She sure could.
I would think, I don't remember what her...
We like them when they come in, yeah, they do.
The ambassador?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think if it works out for her and just contact the coordinator's office and set up a time. It'd be nice to hear from her.
She can be here during 4-H weekends out.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
That'd be
we
good.
have a meeting that week, that'd be great.
Yeah.
We'll get a photo.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Justin. Items for consideration, Commissioner Potter, committee minutes of the owners.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Justice Center Owners Committee met September 19th. There was quite a list of people that were there. And the Justice Center update, basically, Kevin Curry, who works with the Integrity Group, he's the scheduling guru. He's the guy that keeps everything on task, and he always worries about everything getting on time, which is kind of good because it's a good offset. Mitch Paulson is our manager out there, and both them people I'm very impressed with, that they're on top of things and what's going on. The Masons were working to complete the final elevator shaft, and if you looked at the webcam, you'll see they did get that done. They're tearing down all the scaffolding, getting ready to set the iron. In fact, I believe today they're starting to set the rest of the iron up in there. Might be take a couple days to finish that. And then they'll move to the north section there, because we had some footings we had to pour to get there. We had 10 days lost to rain on the project. However, some of the work has gone quicker than planned. We had actually a few weeks of just fantastic weather, and they were able to get ahead a little bit, and I think it has to do with how they were set up to go. Things were out of the way, so when the crane came in, they were erecting that thing really fast. I was impressed with how quick that was going. And they brought up the concern with the underground rainwater piping and installation of pipe due to the unknown location of the future government center building. We had a little talk about that, which way that storm pipe goes to in the stormwater holding pond to the north by the sheriff's, the other building up there in the north. And it was to avoid the well fields and where to locate it based on where the government center, if it goes there, where it would go, because we didn't want to put the pipe in and have to redo it again. So there was concerns on that. So we're reviewing all the building plans and see which way it goes. So even if we don't build it today, if in the future we say the building's going to go to the south, to the north, the west, that will determine that pipe. So we'll keep looking on that and try to make it so it'll work no matter which way we go. Wright has indicated the security package for the site has gone to the Integrity Group for review. And at the beginning of the bid pack with the security package wasn't done. We just put a budget number in there. We're trying to work through the details on that. The change orders that we've had, the big one were the dirt work on the site with that black dirt we found, and the other one was the plumbing. When the state reviews the plumbing code, they came up with some changes between the few, which is anticipated. And the other thing was the LEC, that connecting storage room on the lower level, that 1,600 square feet that we decided to go with. Originally, some prices came in at like $88,000, and so it was like, hold the horses, what's going on here? And further explanation has got it down to $68,000. We're hoping we're pretty confident that we'll get it under $65,000, so the recommendation was to move forward with the storage construction room at a cost not to exceed $65,000. And Mr. Wilczek will work on the finalization of the numbers, which I think we can come into with that number pretty easy. And it's, as far as cost per square foot, that's about the most cost-effective dollars you're going to spend there. The other advantage of having that storage room there is the way the jail was set up. The maintenance department has to cross the secured path for the prisoners to come, or the inmates to come across the hallway to get to courts. They have to cross there to get to the storage room, which causes them to have to alert the, I don't remember what the word was called, but you gotta...
Master control.
You gotta talk to the security.
Yeah, master control.
Master control every time they do that, which this will eliminate that, which is, to me, is save a pain in the butt for a lot of people. And on the back, they have a different schedule on the, with the agenda, what it was, and what we had talked about with the doors and small changes. Some of them were turned out to be credits, which is kind of nice. But the overall, with the contingency money, we have spent year-to-date $71,000, the $2 million that was in there, so we're still doing fine. And once we get to the part of the structure, the only thing that we see that potentially would come up that's will be a little bit of an add-on is getting the wall panels for the tip-up construction. Wells is the schedule is a little bit behind for them. We're trying to push them to move that up a little bit. But if we wanted to get the roof on there with the membrane, usually you wait until the wall panels are up and then you do that, lap it over. We could potentially put the roof up and those folded over waiting for the wall panels. That would buy us some up to like 60 days worth of time on that third floor to be able to do some of the things in there without having the snow and rain and other freezing items in there, which we believe that the cost, the increased cost in doing it that way will be negated by the savings on the time of being able to get third floor, because you have to have the roof on before you can start doing any of the interior stuff. So we're looking into that and we're getting some prices together, and that'll be more to come in the future on how we end up doing that, and the board will be informed what is the final decision on how we go forward with that. That's all I have, Mr. Chair, and with that I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and the recommendation.
I'll second that. Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Batch. Is there any discussions?
Just a comment. I talked with Pete Philippi from Contigrity Group yesterday, and we were talking about the camera that people can view the progress and that kind of thing. And he said it's really been nice for some of the contractors because they can take a look instead of running over to the site to see, kind of where we're at, and they're looking for specific things. So, I mean, that's a cost savings for everyone. So I think that was wonderful that was pretty much Alan had spearheaded that, correct?
When it's all done, are you going to be able to do a time lapse?
We're hoping to, yeah.
I think so.
That would be kind of fun.
Commissioner Potter, what's the deal with the doors? That's going to cost us $19,000 more?
You sure it was the doors with how they hooked onto the walls plus the hardware, or was this the doors? There was two different parts of that.
It's just door and frame changes from shop drawing review. I'm just curious, I mean, aren't our architects supposed to have that? And I mean, it's standard to me. I'm just trying to figure out how you can screw up the drawing of a door, and then it's going to cost us $19,000. And again, it's just a small amount in the whole scheme of things, but I'm just trying to figure out how they could screw up the drawings of a door.
I'm not sure if it's so much of a screw up, Commissioner Delyden, as it is changing the vendors that have the doors available, the type of walls we have in there.
But those people bid it based off the drawing. So either they're changing the doors for some reason, or the architect screwed up the drawings, and I mean, that should have been specified.
Since you raised a question, Commissioner Delyden, I will follow up on that and have BKV send you
I mean, it's a pittance, but I'm just curious, how can you mess up a door? Or the wall, or whatever the case may be?
Well, you'd like to know how do you prevent that in the future,
Right.
Again, If they're screwing up a door, what else are they screwing up?
It does seem
And it
like
might
that
not. I hope
not, yeah.
happens in every construction project, though, but maybe not that specifically, but
It's kind of like with the plumbing. You could submit things that are in code today, and once they get down there, they tear it apart and say, no, you're doing A, B, and C, not this, you're doing it this way.
And the plumbing, I can understand, because it has to go to the Department of Health to get final approval, but I'm not so sure about a door. But I may be way off base.
Yeah.
Okay. We didn't vote on that, did we?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Commissioner Potter, for providing us the information and being at those meetings to watch out for the county taxpayers. Resolution setting the preliminary 2019 budget and levy. Coordinator Kelly, do you want to talk a little bit about this?
Sure, Mr. Chair. As you recall, we began our budget process early in the year by starting to talk about capital improvement plan and various projects that were in the budget back as far as April, May. We started our budget discussions that we then had departments submit their budget items to administration and to the Auditor Treasurer's Office in the early part of August. We had some budget meetings in August, wrapping up our last budget meetings here in September 18th. And what you have in front of you is the resolution that reflects the budget as it was assembled following our September 18th meeting. So the budget that is presented today on the resolution would be $147,090,953 for the budget. The levy itself would be $73,524,014 as presented.
All right, thank you. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Vetch. Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, I will not be voting for this. I've tried to just express my concerns, and I know we all have the same concerns about the increase in the levy this year. And you asked me to come up with, you said, give me the list and whatever, and we never had another meeting since that, so. But I would just put off that the new government center for about 15 or 20 years and just stay where we're at and leave it alone. I think if, that would work. And then the other thing I would probably do is maybe put off the ERP just for 1 year. So, but I'm not taking any traction, but I'm just wanted to explain why I'm not going to vote for it.
Okay, well, again, we are setting the levy amount, but it can go down from this point. So this is not saying this is what it's going to be, but this is where we have to set it for, and then we can bring it down.
And I understand that, and thank you, but if I don't start voicing my position now, then I'll just be a little squeaky voice at the end, I guess.
Well, and Mr. Chair, Mr. Burrell, we have not voted to approve building the admin building, starting in 2019. Just as a point of clarification, that still will be discussed. But, and when you just look at take everything into consideration, as much as you hate to see any kind of a spike in our levy, but when you look at what our tax rate has been compared to our tax capacity, and when our tax capacity continues to go up and our tax rate has gone down and is a lot lower than our neighboring counties, I mean, I'm with you. I don't like to see this spike, but if we do this now, then we're starting the corrective action, and it'll be lower next year and lower, over the next 5 years. So.
Commissioner Retch?
Well, Charlie, I mean, I respect that you're idea on it. I mean, there's a few different concerns. I mean, you would be proposing to set a levy not to exceed 13.2 based on those numbers of moving out the $2.1 million on the building debt service and then the 1.1 on ERP. But actually that's less than that because the ERP was already back down to 800,000. So actually you'd be looking to get us to only about a 14 flat levy based on your reductions.
And Derek, I would actually even go further than that. I just, doing those two would get me to vote for it, I guess, but I would prefer even more because I think we could probably put off some park projects. And another thing that I've spoke of forever is the public health. And I know I hear flack about it every time I bring it up. And I said I just think that the budget out there could get trimmed down, and I would like to do it through attrition, but every time it just comes up and there's a new, somebody relieves and there's a new person put on, and it's on the consent agenda, whatever, I guess I'm gonna start having those discussions every time one comes up, I guess, so.
And we did have, and I do know if the last one before, Charlie, that we did pull off that public health nurse, and we did vote, and if I remember correctly, it was unanimously, we replaced that public health nurse that was pulled, and that was about a month ago.
Yeah.
But on the other side of it, though, is if you went with the model that you are proposing, you're not adding in any funds. You have to understand that right now, the model that we chose, we backed out all funds for repairing this building. That would leave us going forward with no money to make any repairs for this building because we backed out all the capital improvement money for repairs to this building because we are on the trajectory of going a different path. So by us levying that $2.1 million, we can use that money to repair this building if we decide to stay here, or we can use it towards constructing a new building. You can't take the whole $2.1 million out and have no money to fix this building if something breaks and stay here. That's just not, a viable option. I want to be, I don't want to tell the public that yes, they could have a 12 or a 13% levy increase when really they couldn't, because we ultimately would be having to spend reserves to make repairs. So if we chose that path, so.
And there is more further discussion to come regarding the government, the new building.
Absolutely.
That and has not been set in stone yet by this board. Mm-hmm. Maybe by some employees, but not by this board.
Well, and, just as in regards to the repairs that we're facing in the next few years, if we stay here, it's over $3 million. So there's, we've got to factor that in too. And that wouldn't involve any remodeling. That's just basically the repairs that need to be done.
Okay. Is there any other discussions? Again, we had a motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Vetch. Resolution. Charlie?
No.
Yes.
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 Resolution carries 4-1.
Mr. Chair, can I open a piece of discussion related to this topic? I'd like to get the flavor of the board to direct staff to help illustrate a press release based on this preliminary levy, and I'd like to use the PowerPoint that was used on numerous occasions to this point as kind of the groundworks for this press release. I'd like to get comments from the board regarding that, but I think it's important that, given this levy, preliminary levy, that there's some educational and some factual information put out there on why we got to where we are.
I think it's a great idea.
I think so too. I mean, we want to engage the public as much as possible, and we want them to know as much as we know about it. So whatever we can get out there for educational purposes is great. It's important.
Commissioner Potter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, for one, have already started having talks with Julie Foshing, our communications director, on how to message this and how to get the information there. So I would hope that all my fellow commissioners would go up and talk and put together a plan with and have Lee chime in on it to make sure we're not missing anything and make sure we have a cohesive message out there to let people know the factors that you know, like the 13 factors that raise your taxes and how we got to where we are today and steps we're doing to ensure something like this doesn't happen again.
Yep.
And I would implore that you talk with Julie Foshing and because she's already starting to craft a message. We just need all 5 of us to chime in on it.
Would we be wanting to see this PowerPoint? I mean, I'm assuming we're going to put a PowerPoint out on the county website. Do we want to review that before it goes live, like maybe before our board meeting on the 9th?
Mr. Chair, I think staff will draft something and send it out for you guys to review.
Okay.
I think that'd be the most efficient way. Obviously, we're adopting our budget today, so I think timing is sooner is better.
Yeah, absolutely.
My question is if we're doing, I mean, there's two-pronged approaches. There's the technology website, social media, press release, but there's also the traditional paper press release that I think is important that we do with this as well. Sure. And as far as
And that should get out, that should get out
sooner than later. And my question to you, board members, is do you want to include that dollar bill as part of this press release piece that was in that PowerPoint or any of the visuals, or do you want to go just entirely all through however the story is told based on everybody's input? I just want a little bit of direction for staff to have to work with on.
Well, certainly all that information I think is very, very helpful. But I don't know how that would work with a press release.
I mean, it's whether you could submit it into it, whether the paper would include it would be, I don't know, but maybe we leave it off or let them put something to us and bring to us and we can get feedback from that.
And I would think, as part of the press release, that it should be stated in there that that information will be available on the county website within a 2-week time frame.
There you go, that's a good
something.
one like that, yeah.
So that way they can,
if they don't get all their questions answered there, they can drill
they can drill it down much easier on the county website because it's difficult to put it in words.
It is.
It is.
Mr.
Not all of it.
I know I'm in the minority over here, but
no, you're not.
The other thing, well, I think I am, but I feel that way. But the one thing too that, and I saw the presentation and it was a good presentation that Derek put on, but what it doesn't say on the other side of it is when we have this rather large levy increase, it sets the bar higher from now till eternity, kind of. You know, that's the new norm now, because if we go up 17% or 15%, whatever it is, next year's will be judged by that number. So that's just something that it's not, I know you're putting a good spin on it, but that's the other side to it.
I mean, it just ultimately how we're operating right now, Charlie, we are not operating in a model that's sustainable. It's just not. If you looked at that 5-year projection, you will be having to use reserves year after year, or you're going to have to levy later. You just couldn't get there.
Yeah,
it just wasn't possible.
Right. I mean, it's not good to dip into our reserves like we had to do this year, and it's.
Well, the other thing, we do need to plan for that power plant.
Yep.
You know, and if we don't start now, in fact, at a meeting last night, somebody that works there claims that he doesn't think it'll last till 2030.
Right.
And Mark, and if it was just that we're going to lose some money from the power plant, that's one thing. You can say we have to compensate for it, but it's not just that. I mean, we have all the the new building. I mean, not just the government center. I mean, we have before that the Justice Center, the highway building, and then we're still paying on the jail yet from before. So it's just we have a lot of and I know we can handle it. We have the capacity and all that, but I just think we could hold off on some of the spending. So, and I think there's areas still where we could cut, and maybe we'll look at that more later.
Well, and I think that's a good point. I mean, Commissioner Burrell, if you have specific things, it would not hurt for us to have a meeting whenever we've gotten some input from the public, and if they've had a chance to look at some of this stuff.
Okay.
See if they've got suggestions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The other thing to keep in mind is the tax rate, which we've been bouncing around, and that nobody remembers when it went down. They only remember when it went up. I mean, there was 2 years in a row with my commercial property. It went down by $100 a year, and that's usually not how government works. I mean, when you do that, it comes back, and I had that experience in Albertville where they didn't levy for things and had the tax rate down because they're so concerned only to have it come back with a vengeance the next year. And if they hadn't done that, the levy increase would have been a lot less, and if our tax rate had been staying more constant, we wouldn't be having the drama this year of the 17.3, which of course 7% of that is with new growth. So it's one of those things, you want to keep that tax rate more stable. You can't just nosedive it, because when you got to come back for unanticipated things, with either mandates or buildings or anything else, when you start doing that, keep in mind also with the jail refinancing, you know, that ratcheted up, and that's saving us $600,000 a year. So if we hadn't done that, it would have been worse for years to come.
Right.
So the public's got to look at the whole picture, not just this little piece that say, okay, I don't like that. I don't like it either.
Right.
But when you look at the whole operation, and I think that we did real well by the people refinancing that jail. That one swelled up to over $7 million a year in principal payment, you know, up here really quick coming at us. And you want to talk about a budget buster when that starts jumping up. You know, we went to what, $3 million. 2017 was the first year of a real higher principal payment. It got up. It's going to go up much more, but we took the action to cut that off. So, you know, when you look at the whole picture, okay, is it ugly? Yes. Can we get through this and make it from now on so we can get that correction and understand how we stay there?
More
Yes.
level off.
Level it off.
You do it now, or you do it next year, or, you know, or you
Well,
do you
you could do part of it this year and part of it next year, but it's still going to be high, those 2 years where you do it, the spike this year, next year is going to drop, and then it'll drop significantly the next 3 years.
Yep.
So.
Okay.
Lee, do you think staff has enough direction there to work with to do
Yeah,
that?
I think we have, just based on the discussion here, but also the discussions and the PowerPoint that we've already been working off of, I think gives us a good start and a flavor. So we'll develop something, and then the board can review.
Okay. Revise,
See?
oh, I'm sorry. Set special board meeting for December 6th at 2018 at 6 p.m. regarding the 2019 budget and levy,
So moved.
Second,
formerly known as the Truth in Taxation.
and that's what I wrote in my calendar.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewson. Any other discussions?
This year it could be referred to as the tar and feathering.
Yeah.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. We'll get that out on the website too, right? Let people know as much as possible. And then, those proposed property taxes, they'll be out when, beginning of November?
Yes, depending on when the vendor gets them out. There's a requirement, I don't recall that date, but they do have to be out prior to truth and taxation. So usually
Seems to me it was last year, they got out really late, and we only had like a week, and some people hadn't even received theirs yet. I mean, it was
There was some
bad.
glitch. There was a glitch last year.
So hopefully that's not gonna happen again.
And that was one part of the reason why we proposed a later date this year. I think we have done December in past years, but last year, as staff, we felt the timeline was too close. So
Yep.
this will give more time.
That's great, yeah, because I want people to be able to review those. And then hopefully we haven't did it on the same day as a school district or a city has. Alrighty. We made a motion, second, did we vote on that? We did, okay, that's right. Okay, revised proposal. Coordinator Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you recall, approximately 2 weeks ago, we had a similar item on the board as a proposal from Flaherty and Hood. I believe that was on the September 11th board meeting. We had some discussion there regarding the proposal and some desire to limit the scope of what was presented. I was requested to bring this back by one of those that voted in the prevailing side of the previous motion. So as you see presented to you is the revised proposal presented from Flaherty and Hood. The price amount still remains the same at a capped amount of $45,000 and would run for a year beginning as soon as we sign the thing. So,
Charlie, you had one comment earlier.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I I guess it's a comment or a question, because Monticello is already in this. I think if the purpose of this is to get Monticello not to close up or whatever, that we're not going to affect that, but we're going to affect the legislature on how they handle the taxes so it doesn't drop right off the table kind of thing. So I'm wondering, Monticello is already a member of this, and I'm just wondering, could we, instead of joining this, make a, you know, $10,000 or $15,000 payment to Monticello and just say, this is above and beyond your thing, just to get some more lobby hours? But that's my question, I guess.
Commissioner Burrell, there was talk of that even years ago, but unfortunately the Coalition of Utility Cities doesn't have any interest at this time of allowing counties to join their group, because they feel that the weight of counties and the interest of counties is different than that of the cities. We have a lot of similarities, but there is some differences as well, because what they will advocate for relief aid would be different than that of what a county would look for, and they don't want to necessarily have to fight internally in this group when they're lobbying for efforts. But there's also the side that there's different sides as far as we get more of a broader representation when because I mean, ultimately every city in Wright County is affected by this, not just Monticello. Monticello is affected much greater, but every city is, because their county, every resident of the county is affected by this. So it's we tried the route of joining them and making that contribution that way, and that was not interested, not by Monticello, but by the collective group that they belong to. But we also felt that we need to be a presence much stronger on this, because one, there's the change of what the taxes will look like if they go from evaluation style to power generated style, and there's a big nuance onto that as to how much of a tax shift that'll be for the taxpayers of the county, and we want to be part of that drafting process of that legislation. There's also the side of it is we want to be at the table as to what the post-closure evaluation would look like for a nuclear power plant. We don't know. We've never encountered that in the state of Minnesota, and we want to be at the legislative table for that as well. And we also want to be at the table to decide going forward if there's any legislative shifts that take place and how these Enbridge-style cases move forward, going forward, if there's any changes in the legislature to protect these counties that are not involved in that valuation process. And that's another piece that we want to be able to use Flaherty and Hood to help us lobby on those efforts. And they're one of the forefront experts on property valuation, and especially for utilities. That is their specialty.
Commissioner Potter, did you have a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, this comes back forward, and I understand how it came forward, but if you read it, it says Flaherty and Hood will provide services, S, related to Wright County's legislative needs, S again, during the 2019 session, including utility taxation potential bonding projects, which is way past the scope of with the nuclear plant and other issues of interest to Wright County. So it has, in my opinion, it has not changed much from the last proposal. And our firm has extensive experience represent clients in bonding. I mean, I thought this was just about the nuclear plant. We're back to bonding again. I don't see this proposal being much different than what was presented before. And the scope of services, you know, it keeps going on, and it does not just say the nuclear plant and how that affects, it's that and other services. And we're part of coalitions that already have people lobbying on our behalf for transportation issues. The other thing with talk with Matt Hilgart from AMC is Flaherty and Hood have actually testified at the Capitol in things that were detrimental to counties here in the past. So if any of you want to talk to Matt Hilgart, you'll find out that they haven't really been that great a friend to counties. Their references have a lot of cities, but you will not see counties in there.
Well, there is a couple, or one for sure.
Mr. Chair, I guess Commissioner Potter,
you
ended your point, but
no, he said where is the county?
Swift County on the bottom, on page 6.
Mr. Chair?
That's a coalition of Minnesota counties, utility cities through Swift County, because they're all together. So it's not actually the county itself, it's just had the utilities through that county. But anyway, my point is that this doesn't change much from what was here before. And I, for one, am not overly thrilled on changing the people that have been working and actually getting us money here in the county. And I just don't see this as all of a sudden this is, again, expanded from just the nuclear plant to everything else under the sun. Read what's in here and read what, what they want to do with that. And this is where I am opposed to going forward with this.
Mr. Chair? I don't understand, Commissioner Potter, where the rub is between two lobbying firms, because I don't see that Lockridge Grindle, the one that you champion for, in which they've done great things for us, where the rub is with them in Flaherty Hood doing work for us. I don't see where the rub is, and that I don't see. It's not like you have WSB and SRF, and we use different contracting consulting firms for a lot of different things. I don't see where the rub is between Flaherty Hood and Lockridge and Grindle, and that's where I'm looking for you to illustrate to me where that rub is.
I, for one, don't believe that we need to hire lobbying firms for everything under the sun. Some of the things we can do ourselves, and not everything. That Wright County is not at the table for everything down at the legislature. The thing is, when you brought this forward, it was to put us at the table for the nuclear plant. What this proposal is telling us they're going to provide services for everything else under the sun. That's where I have the rub, because that's not what the scope was. It doesn't say we're just going to be here to help you navigate the nuclear plant. This proposal says we'll help you with bonding and everything else, and we already have bond councils. We've already got all these people in place here. So this is where my rub is.
I guess that would be a question of mine, because I mean, it was brought back to narrow it down, and they really didn't narrow it down from what I can see.
Well, they eliminated Commissioner Potter's primary concern, and that was the transportation aspect. And my take on this is they're only going to lobby what we hire them to lobby for. We're not asking them to do bonding things. We're not asking them to do any other issues. Our primary concern right now is the nuclear power plant, and it's probably not just, I don't know if it's just the power plant we're looking at, or are they also going to look at some of the other utility things?
If we need them to, they would.
So.
But why couldn't we just narrow it to the power plant for now?
We could,
and we can redo a contract later, because I don't want this to grow and grow and us being in the hiring lobby firms. I don't like it at all. We're using taxpayer money to lobby the lawmakers to, it just seems so, I don't know, bad.
It's crazy that we have to do it.
It is crazy. I agree. It's crazy that we have to do it. But I mean, I caution you for the fact that you're limiting your scope, but you're probably not going to impact the dollar amount. I mean, just realistically, the reason we went into this and the reason they drafted the dollar amount is pretty much scoped around working with the utility piece
Okay, so if Mark brought this back, did Mark contact, Mr. Chair, did you contact Flaherty Hood and say, we want it narrowed down, or Lee did? They didn't narrow it down. I'm kind of agreeing with Mike, and I hate to do that, but.
Mr. Chair, to clarify this, after that last meeting, I thought I captured appropriately the comments that were made at the board meeting. I did send this proposal around via email. I was hoping if there was going to be any revisions, we could have made them prior to it coming forward. I apologize if it's too soon, but I thought we had it in my discussions.
Well, you might be right. You might have 3 votes, Lee. That's all you need.
Again, I'm trying to do the will of the board here, and I thought.
But I don't think it narrowed it really. I mean, it's not going to bring Commissioner Potter on, and probably not me. And if it's good enough for Mark, well, then you got your 3 votes, I guess. But I just don't. I think it just makes. I don't want to be hiring a lobby firm at all, but. On this here, I'm hoping this is going to be a temporary, I wouldn't say temporary, a short-term thing, whether it's 4 or 5 years until this thing kind of evens out. And then we can get rid of them.
And it might not be that long.
But they word this so that, well, there's no reason to get rid of them now because, well, we can still help you with your bonding and all this other stuff. And I just leave it with this, and then they're gone. I want them to disappear after.
And I personally have no interest in enlisting their services for bonding assistance. We have we have good bond counsel, and I don't think that,
This is more bonding for the state bonding bill. If we wanted to put in there for the law enforcement training center, if we wanted to go for after funding from the state
But
for
Derek,
that.
I don't want to spend money on a lobby firm for that stuff. That's something I
that's
can call
fine.
up.
That is totally
I can call up and talk to my state reps. It rubs me wrong. Like I said, I kind of see the need for this in looking at the Enbridge thing, because when the lawsuit took place, it went on for 5 years, and then it went all the way back from the time they filed the suit, and these counties are paying back now the revenue, the tax revenue that they collected. And yeah, it would be nice to see something to say that it only takes effect after the judgment is, in place, or something like that. If a lobby firm can help do that, it would be worth it. But it rubs me the wrong way to be hiring a lobby firm for anything, really.
I agree. Commissioner Potter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to make it clear for the record that there's nothing against Flaherty and Hood. They're a fine organization. They lobby on behalf of a lot of people there. I just don't think we need to engage them at this time on this project.
For the nuclear plant?
For nuclear, because it's not that scope, it's there, and you can say we can narrow it, but these things have a tendency to morph into something else.
Well,
not if we don't request that they do. They're not going to lobby for us if we don't.
Potter on that.
Mark your words down, and you'll be seeing how soon you eat those.
So you don't view, my question is, you don't view the nuclear issue, the nuclear power plant in its future and the impact of the county as not being serious, or you just don't feel that Flaherty and Hood is equipped to do the job, or you just don't plan on to spend that amount of money?
I'm not questioning the ability of Flaherty and Hood. I'm questioning the logic that when you already have Monticello at the table with the Coalition of Minnesota Utilities, already fully engaged in this thing. Adding us to the mix is not going to change what ends up getting with XL, Department of Revenue, and everybody else. We're just another person at the table. But the main players, the host cities, are the ones that are we're taking the brunt when it goes away. But the host cities are the ones taking the big hit. 74% of Monticello's tax capacity is in that nuclear plant. They've got the elephant in the room is with them. It's with us too. We can adjust ours. Our one is because that's a percentage of our total tax capacity, but it's not a make or break deal with us. So it has nothing to do with their qualifications. I just don't think it's necessary for us, because Monticello's already at the table, and of course they're going to tell us what's going on and keep us informed what's going on here.
Commissioner,
and if you think we're going to get some better deal because we're in this, I don't think that works that way. Your legislators are the best way to go. One lobbyist is fine and dandy, but you get a commissioner, you get city council down there with the legislature or congressman, and that has a much broader reach, because that is that actual constituent that they look at.
Let's see if we can move, Mike, so you wouldn't support them hiring them for anything?
I just don't think it's necessary.
If it was narrowed to just the nuclear power plant.
I don't think it's necessary, because it'll be redundancy of services.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
But let me voice this. The reason this brought forward is because, you know what? The previous legislation that was driven by the cities had a threshold of a 5% loss to get transition aid. We were at 4.89, so we were just under that threshold. Do you think any of them cared to advocate for the county to get that transition aid number lowered below that? Much less, the aspect of it, we were lucky to be able to get some policy analysts, and thanks to Mr. Kelly and Bob Hevola and other staff that we sat through numerous meetings to try and wrap our head around it, the complexity of how this was going to shift the valuations and where that transition aid fund was going to come from and what the sustainability of it was. And that transition aid funding would fund that $45,000 for just 1 year's worth of transition aid would have funded that for the next 7 to 8 years worth of 45, times the 45,000. I mean, that's where we got to on this. Okay. So I can't rely on the cities to want to make counties whole when it's city driven.
We got a smart guy up here, the attorney.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I'm not very close to the lobbying issue, but I wanted to bring a piece of information forward. One is that if the board decides to narrow the scope of this to the nuclear plant, that would be a little too narrow as far as I'm concerned. I think a utility valuation issues or something like that would be a good idea. The reason I say that is that we've been served with notices that XL Energy, Great River Energy, and also Wright Hennepin have all filed valuation appeals. Now, Tony Rasmussen and I get notified of that, but we don't necessarily play a large role. And so it kind of plays into what Commissioner Burrell was mentioning, this Enbridge lawsuit, or the case, that I'm not terribly familiar with either, but some of these utility valuation appeals do drag on for years. The Attorney General's office represents us. Department of Revenue is the one who does the utility valuation. We don't always have as big a voice at the table as we'd like, and if there was any relief to be gotten from the legislature on some of those valuation issues, that would be a great thing as far as I'm concerned. So I'm just addressing the scope of what you're talking about.
Mr. Chair,
don't limit it to the nuclear.
I would be okay with that to the utility thing too.
Yep.
So if we did that, you would have my vote. The way it is right now, you don't. You're not gonna get Potter anyway, so it depends on Mark.
Well, why don't you just make a motion stating that?
I would do that.
That we want to do the scope based off utility.
But now, do we need to have a new letter sent out from them, Lee?
So we could just.
I would say you could fit it under what's drafted here, but if the board feels more comfortable limiting the scope.
But if this is a contract that we're signing that says all this stuff, I don't want to be a part of that. So I'd rather just bring it back
in 2 weeks.
But I said, my thing is, I want it very narrow. I don't want them doing anything with bonding, with anything else other than the utilities then. I'm okay with the utility thing.
Mr. Chair, my only comment is that anytime you hire a professional, whether it be an attorney, an engineer, these are attorneys slash lobbyists, hopefully you're working with them kind of as to what they are focusing on. I don't think it's a runaway train issue. I guess I've been involved in some utility issues over the years, and I've been at meetings where Flaherty and Hood has been. I guess I don't see them as running wild. But
I want to make it as difficult for the next board. I'm only going to be here 2 more years, but I want to make it so that they have to make an affirmative vote to have them expand that scope at all.
Mr. Chair, I want to try and make a motion to approve the contract with Flaherty Hood as stated.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Oh.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? All right, motion dies for lack of a second.
You could pass the gavel down if you wanted to make a second.
I want to clarify something. Red Wing, when does the Red Wing plant go away?
2033 and 2034. Each reactor is 1 year after another.
Do we know if Red Wing County utilizes somebody?
Goodhue County? Goodhue County is not, they are not at the table for actually anything, Lee. They rely heavily on Red Wing. Red Wing is a big player on their sides of this, but their impact for whatever reason is much less than Wright County's. I'm not quite sure how it works, if some of it has to do with the Indian reservation that's there or not. I'm not quite sure. I haven't really researched.
Okay, I was just, because if they have a lobbyist, that would be the place to hit.
That would be the place to go, yeah.
And I wasn't sure if you had researched that opportunity at all or not.
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna try this. Mr. Chair, I'm gonna make a motion to.
Did you officially?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I said it lacks for a second. Yes, Charlie, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna make a motion to send this back to Flaherty and Hood to narrow the scope to just for utility interests, for lobbying for just utility interests and nothing else.
I will second that.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Houston. Is there any other discussion?
And this basically is the valuation issues that Mr. Asleson mentioned.
It's way more money than Derek, just so you know, if this passes. I mean, you're getting everything you want, right?
I'm getting everything I want. I mean, I just feel like at this point, we're yanking Flaherty and Hood around
I'm not
for a
yanking
non-issue, it's a non-issue. I mean, we're not going to use them for
We're not
anything
gonna
other
use
than what
them.
we want to use
so
them
then,
for.
So then you should vote for this,
I
okay.
mean, yeah, because I'm delaying this out for weeks and weeks and weeks. I just don't understand the methodology that you guys are using.
I think we could have this back in a week.
And Commissioner Burrell?
We don't
it's
meet
not-
next week.
We're not committing to 45,000. If they don't spend that much money, if they don't, you know, we're not.
It's not to exceed, yeah.
No. it won't
That's the
go
reason
more
I
than that.
just really thought you guys would help myself and staff be able to utilize their services and over what I thought was really a non-controversial issue. I never imagined.
It's not, well, I shouldn't say with Mike it's controversial. It's not that controversial with me. I don't like doing it. I see the need for it in a way, and I'm willing to do this, but I want the scope narrowed. I don't want to make it easy for a future board to go into bonding and go into anything else.
I think this is just for 1 year, I thought.
Yeah, it's just a
It's a
one-year
one-year contract,
Okay,
and
okay.
it's year to year.
So it,
Okay.
Yeah.
that solves that
So all the
problem,
more
Charlie.
reason, I think our discussion, and we can blame Lee, he said he'd take it. You know, it should have got narrowed already to just the utility.
Well,
And then
we
then-
should have weighed in on
I
what
Yeah,
it is.
you got the email.
Okay.
I mean, you've seen this, you've had a chance.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Burrell, I appreciate you helping me get the help on the utility side of this. I mean, that is really the only reason I would have never been broughting a lobbying firm before this group if it wasn't such a complex issue that I felt that myself and staff could tackle it, but it's just not
Right.
that simple.
We can't easily navigate this whole.
Even with this, I'm just letting you know, Derek, even with this, it's going against my principles, but I'm willing to do this just for you.
It's going against
For the county.
everybody's principles.
For the county,
Mr.
yeah.
Chair, I call a question.
All right. Everybody remember what the motion is? Send it back?
To send it back to Flaherty and Hood to narrow the scope to
Clarification.
just utilities.
Because I'll take any help I can get, I'll support it, because any help I can get here,
All
Charlie.
right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. All right, now that we've beat that horse to death,
Oh, my.
schedule committee of the whole meeting regarding per parcel rates and fees for the 2020 and 21 assessment contracts.
You guys want to make this one a heated debate too?
And then we also have a scheduled committee of the whole to discuss front reception desk. And then also a committee of the whole regarding government center. And the reason I threw all those three together is do we want to do,
That'd be a long meeting.
Extremely long meeting.
That'd be like a 4-hour meeting.
well, you know, we could do it
That
morning,
was-
afternoon.
Well-
I'm just bringing it up that we have a number of
I
them.
think you could put the front reception desk with one of the other ones, but I think I agree with Derek. I don't think you want to put them all together.
Yeah.
Oh, which one would you like to separate out? The government center? So just put the front desk and the assessment?
Yeah,
Partial rates?
E and F could be together.
Mr. Chair, I think that would work, adding the, as was discussed, the reception desk discussion and the parcel rates discussion could be one meeting. Yesterday's, or was it Monday's committee of the whole?
That's yesterday.
It's been a long week already, sorry. There was a date already proposed for the owners committee of the whole, if you want to call it that, for the new government center. That was planned to be about a 3-hour meeting, so.
And that date again?
Oh, that's right.
October 11th.
Sorry, October 11th, as I mentioned, it's been a long week.
Yep, that's right, I do have that.
So I don't know if you want to
11
address.
11 a.m., I believe?
11 to 3.
Yeah.
All right, so we have that date already discussed. So can I have a motion to
I'll make a
set that one?
motion for the committee of the whole for the government center, October 11th, 11 to 3.
I'll second that.
Let me verify that time, if you would let me quick here. I think I had it on my calendar as a 12 to 3.
But there was the 11, the commissioner's part was from 11 to 12.
You are correct.
So-
Yep, you are correct. Let's do 11 to 3.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Houston. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. All right, back up to the front reception desk and the parcel rates and fees for 2020-21.
Looking at calendars, we could maybe entertain a 10:30 on the 16th or go out farther. Looking at Mr. Rasmussen's calendar, I see he does have some conflicts on that 23rd Tuesday.
The 10:30 on the 16th sounds okay to me.
You said he had something on the 16th?
On the 23rd.
On the 23rd.
And the 16th.
10:30 on the 16th? Everyone?
Yep.
16th.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion.
We're not gonna be here.
I won't be here, but if you
Oh, you
guys want to
won't?
still do that one.
It's right after board meeting, Derek.
Yeah, he won't be here.
If yeah.
Oh, yes.
For that was where I was in the lacrosse.
Oh, that's right, you're gonna be down at the
So, well,
But if you guys, I mean,
otherwise, we could maybe look at the 8th in the morning.
the 8th is wide open.
Have to be
We have Health
AM.
and Human Services anyways.
It'd have to be early AM, 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock could work.
Would we have to go that, why
I
don't
don't
we go
think-
10?
It's not going to be more than a
You have Health
couple
and Human
hours.
Services at 1:30, but
I also
Oh, yes,
board of directors
board-
meeting that afternoon also.
afternoon, okay. So you want to do early, like 9, 9:30?
9 would be fine.
9, 9:30?
I mean, you wouldn't think it'd be more than 2-hour meeting.
No.
No.
I would say 10. And then we'll be here for the 1:30.
What time do you
Go
have to
from
be?
here to St. Paul,
What time do you have to?
my time's short.
We give Health.
1 o'clock board of directors meeting in St. Paul.
Oh, so you're going to skip HHS that day, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to, others, you want to go, we can go 9 just to make sure Michael has enough time, or 9:30, you just, I want to make sure I don't want to make Michael have to.
Let's
Well,
do
you could-
9, let's do 9:30. If you have to leave early, Mike, you
Yeah.
can. Then we'll make any decisions after you're gone.
Yeah.
Well, because I mean,
I
2 hours
appreciate
by
that.
11:30, that still gives them pretty good amount of time.
Okay, so that's on the
October
8th at 9:30.
I'll make a motion to set committee of the whole on October 8th at 9:30 to discuss parcel rates and fees, the 2020 and 21 assessment contracts, and to discuss the front desk reception position.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Burrell. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Resolution approving charitable gambling application form for the Buffalo Youth Hockey Association. Brian, do you have this?
No, Mr. Chair, this is an item, we get from time to time charitable gambling applications that come in. This is the first that I can recall where they've required a resolution approving it, so it is listed as an item for consideration. Typically, these are just done as consent items, but this, the state uses many different forms for specific types of events. This is the first one we've seen with a resolution required, so.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution approving charitable gambling application for Buffalo Youth Hockey. The gambling site is Lake Center in Annandale.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Houston. Is there any other discussions? Resolution? Commissioner Burrell?
Aye.
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 All right, motion, resolution carries unanimous. In the interest of time, I am going to, unless somebody has really critical information regarding an advisory committee or advisory board update, I would like to forego that today.
I'm fine with that, I got.
Can I just make a couple of announcements, quick?
Sure, if they're extremely
Okay.
important.
Well, it's time sensitive. So the dementia-friendly group is having an overview of financial assistance programs that are available to seniors on Wednesday, tomorrow, September 26th, from 9:30 to 11 at Zion Lutheran Church. And also, just to let everyone know, the caregiver support group of the Buffalo Area Dementia Friends meets every Thursday from 9:30 to 11 at Zion Lutheran Church. And they also meet on third Thursdays from 4:30 to 6. So if you are a caregiver for someone with dementia, you can join the support group, and I'm glad that they're doing that for people.
It's going to be a tough For a lot of people.
Well, hey, I appreciate you, at least now I know.
Well, as
you're-
Karen
I
mentioned this
thought you
morning, I
did,
mean,
like,
just,
I thought.
seem to be more and more of
In
a,
general.
Okay,
It's just the,
anything else before we have another conversation over here that I don't want to
yeah, I
listen
want to
to?
talk about Mark's haircut now.
Okay, yes.
Just a
I'll second
reminder,
that, let's talk about it.
Coordinator Kelly?
no, reminder, no meeting next Tuesday.
Yeah, that's right.
all.
Thank you for reminding us. So we'll all be out at Charlie's helping them bale straw.
What about
No,
Thursday?
that's
Here's
already
pork
done.
chops.
Oh, all right, then we don't have to go to Charlie's, so everybody's off next week. We are adjourned at 11 o'clock.